Let us go over some of these ideas. That esoteric astrology is what did he say, the purest presentation of occult truth in the world at this time. You would wonder, why is it not found in a treatise on cosmic fire? But then there is so much in a treatise on cosmic fire which is basically astrological or cosmological. So he certainly got his study of astrology going in cosmic fire. Really, they are inseparable treatises. If you can't really study one without the other, and as if to confirm this, DK has taken the most important cosmic fire astrological statements and put it in the back in the appendix of Esoteric Astrology. So they are two books necessary to understand each other if there is to be a depth of understanding, and we could certainly study them our entire life and just scratch the surface. Occultism is essentially a language of energy. We even have a course in the Morya Federation, and this course has been around a long time, originating, I think, in New Zealand and Australia, called the language of energy. So when we wish to study occult truth, we have to study energies rather than words per se. The occult truth, it deals with the nature, level, and frequency of vibrations. All energies can be quantified, and I think as well all qualities can be quantified. I've sometimes said that quantity is quality. Well, if you think, let's say, that there's a certain quality to the note C, and that note will not be sounded unless there are 200, let us say 256 cycles per second. Or let us say that there is a certain quality to the note A. That quality is produced by 440 vibrations or cycles per second. So the quantity is right behind the quality, and without the specific quantity you do not have the quality you recognize. The astrological energies are conditioning and they are governing. And there is a difference between that which conditions and that which governs. A condition is an influence, and governing is a kind of a force of will. The energies which condition us, they affect and influence the type and quality of relationships in any field of space. They affect and influence, but they do not necessarily determine that type and quality. But other energies may be more influential. Energies which govern determine the type of and quality of relationships in any field of space, and they dominate that upon which they impact. So we want to think about the difference between governing and conditioning energies. Well, what are the sources of the astrological energies? They are the various planets, including the Earth. There are planetoids, asteroids, suns, systems of suns, constellations, galaxies, etc. There are magnetic fields within the Earth's aura, which are also sources of energies and which are representative of the astrological signs, and these have been called sometimes the signs themselves. Okay, DK talks about the field of space. Well, in The Secret Doctrine, we begin with a very powerful statement that space is an entity, that the entire field of space is one great being, and I like to call that being the universal logos. But perhaps the concept goes even farther than that idea, that the absolute itself is in a way space, not the kind of space that has things in it, but space as one being, one all-inclusive being, which is the ground of all being. So Do we yet understand the nature of the field of space? I don't think so. But we can understand somewhat its more local meaning. We can understand that it is a great container, as it were, and it is caused by the consciousness of the universal logos. To be is to be perceived, and no space would exist unless it were perceived. Space is really the field of consciousness of the universal logos. Okay, and in a more local sense, all the different dimensions and vibratory domains are included within this great field of space. There's a great metaphysical mystery behind what space is, and DK hints at it. If the horizon we see is to be, in DK's words, far wider and at the same time more closely related, then we are going to understand many energy cycles within our local cosmos system. And that local cosmos system is the realm of the one about whom naught may be said. I call it a super constellational logos. So we shall understand these vast energy cycles within our local cosmos system, and we shall understand the interrelationships of all lives within that sphere of embodiment. Right now, we haven't even located those lives, yet alone understand their relationships. We're just beginning to understand our solar system in any subjective sense. And as far as the subjectivity of other stellar beings out there and planetary beings, well, we understand a small part of it, something of the quality of the zodiacal constellations and something of the quality of some of the other constellations which have made themselves known in mythology and legend. Master Morya says that if something is a legend, it is true. So we know that everything is related to everything else and reciprocally, but we don't yet know the lines of relationship, and we will be learning to know them. This will become increasingly possible. We will know the relationship between all of these entities, and there will be far fewer what I call plan deviant actions, because we will know the plan and what is intended, and we shall be impressed by its grandeur and its beauty. We will be far less likely to rebel against that which a greater consciousness than ours has conceived. Of course, eventually we will discover that that greater consciousness is our consciousness, and it is our consciousness is its as well. There will be no difference. So this will lead to scientific living, and this will be the purpose of astrology. Scientific living will be done when we know our purpose, we know our objective, and we know what forces have to be wielded in order to achieve that objective. We will know individual and group purpose. We will know the right use of energy, how that purpose may be manifested in time and space, and how to manifest group purpose as well. Right now, we apply energies ignorantly. We don't know what energies we actually are wielding. We don't know their intensity. We don't know how they should be applied. We are not the governors of the energies which have been laid at our disposal. We need to understand the magical process, which is extremely purposeful. This scientific living, this magical process, can be applied to the science of release from form. Now, that's what we're actually trying to do. Not that we don't want to use form and improve it, but we don't want our consciousness to be imprisoned by form, by the trammels of form. So, esoteric astrology can reveal the preferred mode of the release from form for any type of consciousness, and the best timing to exercise those energies which will facilitate release. We certainly don't want to study astrology just so we can satisfy our desire body and fulfill our lower nature by knowing how to manipulate the energies. We don't want to do that. We want to find out who we really are. We want to understand what is the purpose of that which we really are, and what is the still greater purpose of that in which we live and move and have our being. And there are many spheres of that in which we live and move and have our being. In one way, we live and move and have our being within the planetary logos. From another perspective, it is the solar logos, and on and on and on, greater and greater wholes, until we discover that the entire universe is that in which we live and move and have our being.